Holy cow, John. Is there enough news going on for you?
This week, remarkable.
Just in general, it's all kinds of wacky stuff going on. We've had this release from the Department of Justice with the redacted, the affidavit that accompanied the search warrant for Mar-a-Lago. I am not at all surprised that something like 60 to 70% of it was redacted. All of the stuff that's not, just like normal procedural nonsense that we could have anticipated. We don't know anything more about this, and another week has gone by. People are going to want to tune in, John, in 30 minutes to our sponsor exclusive segment. It's going to be on subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen, patreon.com/IamJohnCullen, and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. We have something else important to talk about before we get into the thrust of your presentation, in which you will bid adieu to everybody's least favorite annoying little doctor. But that is that YouTube has changed their policies. I'm reluctant to even talk about the changes because I'm so traumatized by the abuse of our First Amendment rights. But it seems that there's been a complete reversal of information that YouTube will allow you to discuss with regard to this Fauci ouchie. What are we going to talk about today, John?
Well, as you said, there's a lot. There's a lot in the news this week. It's remarkable. But the big story, of course, is, Fauci announcing that he's going to resign in December. Now, originally, he had said that he was going to resign at the end of Biden's term. And so this is a new position.
Maybe Biden's term will end in December.
Well, Fauci predicted the pandemic at Georgetown, right, in January of 2017.
End to the Biden presidency over there, John.
You never know. Very well done. Very well, John. But what we're going to do tonight, we've got a couple slides to share with the audience about Fauci stepping down, what we're going to do with our patrons when we go to Subscribestar and Patreon. Our patrons are going to see sort of a compilation of the best of Dr. Fauci. And we're going to look at, over the course of the pandemic, some of his real stellar moments, right? And so Rachel Maddow was, complimenting him the other day. And so we're going to do our own version of that at our patron-only hour and look at some of the most meaningful interviews that he's had over the course of the last 2 years, and some of the things that he said that you and I kind of grabbed onto, and so what was that all about? So we're going to take a closer look at that. So this is sort of the beginning of the Dr. Fauci
farewell party.
Yeah, exactly. So
don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out party.
Well, no, I think the door might actually hit him, and we're talking about the door of the cell. I'm not sure. Are you familiar with the Allenwood Federal Penitentiary? It's not on the map that we have. Yeah, so it's not on the map that you see here. But in Pennsylvania, one of the most famous federal penitentiaries is Allenwood Federal Penitentiary. And I don't know that you'd call it a country club, but it's where a lot of the white-collar criminals end up going. And that's it. Yeah. So it's a prison. But it's a prison with a nice roof.
Yeah, right? I was going to say, it could be like a golf club.
Yeah, nice architecture. Looks like they probably have a Burger King, a Taco Bell, right? Guitar lessons, that kind of thing. So if you're going to go to prison, this is where Fauci's going to probably end up.
Here, how to send things here. Inmate mail, inmate money, Dr. Fauci. How do we send them?
Do me a favor? Do a search on famous inmates Allenwood. Let's see who's there right now. Famous inmates Allenwood. The audience knows we like to do this ad hoc searching stuff.
Sure.
So,
well, I don't know really any of these guys.
Notable inmates.
Yeah, this is the guy who shot up the movie theater.
Oh, there you go.
The Joker.
So he's there. Yeah.
Notable inmates. Here we go.
Yes.
Weave. I do know him. Yeah, Weave is in there.
Look at the bottom of the list. Martin Shkreli. Shkreli
Oh,
just got out.
I was going to say, I thought they let
out.
him out. Why was he even
And
in
Tommy
there for
Patera.
something?
Tommy
Hillary?
Patera, the hitman for the Bonanno crime family.
Wow, do you think he was hanging out?
Yeah, that's a guy you want to room with. You want to room with him.
But I mean, wait, Martin Shkreli, he's like kind of like a young, I mean, they're putting him in with the murderer. That seems a bit extreme.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they're friends?
I don't know. I'd want to be. I'd be friends with Tommy. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, you probably would
friends with
rather
Tommy.
be.
Tommy and I would be very tight. We'd be very tight. So that's what's going on at Allenwood. But what we're going to do is take a look at some of these videos. I sent you about 10 video clips, so we've got a lot to look at with our patrons.
I didn't. Sorry to interrupt there, John, but I didn't realize that Pharma bro Martin Shkreli, his thing is called Turing Pharmaceuticals.
Turing.
But they
changed the name and they kicked him out. Yeah, they just kicked him out this week. It's one of the stories this week is he got kicked out.
But why did he name it after Alan Turing?
Well, watch the movie. What's the movie that I love by the guy who authored The Beach? Alex Garland is the author of The Beach and the author of.
Do you see some similarities between?
I'm sorry,
Alan?
Ex Machina. Yeah. So yeah, between him and Shkreli. Yeah. So Ex Machina. Yeah, Ex Machina by Alex Garland. I think is one of the most prophetic movies you're ever going to see. And if you want to know like what's really going on behind the scenes in an artistic way, this is the film. And they put this out 8 years ago, which means they made it 10 years ago. And this is a spectacular film in my
pretty creepy as I recall.
Domhnall Gleeson, and I think this is so prophetic. And this is from Alex Garland, the guy who wrote the book The Beach, and you know the movie The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh yeah,
and
where they go to Thailand and something happens.
So they don't just go to Thailand. If you show the audience some Leonardo DiCaprio The Beach pictures, that's not where the book took place. So they decided to film it at Maya Bay. So the photos that you see here of him at Maya Bay, that's like an hour's boat ride from Phuket.
Look how young he looks. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a total kid. Scroll down, show that there's like some bigger pictures of the lagoon. There's like a big, yeah. There you see the lagoon. And the lagoon shots are kind of wild. So, but the book didn't take place there.
Doing the Elon Musk workout.
He's got dad bod. I'm one to talk. I got the same body.
Well, I mean, I guess when you're Leo DiCaprio, you just show up and it's like, where are the women? I don't need to bother.
Yeah, he's basically yacht bait. So if you're Steven Spielberg and you've got one of these yachts, you tell everybody, well, Leonardo DiCaprio is going to be out there with us, so
But look, he's really got to take care of himself. He's not. I'm not trying to fat shame the guy, but I think he's my age, and you got to watch that gut as you start to.
I think he likes Snickers.
Booze is what I was thinking.
All right, but the book takes place on Koh Samui.
Yeah.
So the book takes place in Koh Samui, Koh Phangan, and Bangkok, and then out in the marine park. And so the real story it is not in Maya Bay; it's off of Koh Samui.
I'm concerned we might be having some technical problem because I'm just not seeing any chat comments right now. It does look like our simulcast is happening on the John E. Hoover YouTube channel. So thank you to everybody who is watching the simulcast on there. People who are watching on Crowdsource the Truth channels should subscribe to the John E. Hoover channel. And of course, John, we're going to have our sponsor exclusive segment starting in just about 20 minutes on subscribestar.com/I am John Cullen. There we go. Now we've got some comments. People can also watch on Subscribestar and Patreon/Crowdsource the Truth.
Super. Yeah, if you guys haven't subscribed to Jason's latest Crowdsource the Truth venture, what are we up to, Jason? Crowdsource the Truth 26? What are we up to?
We've just got 7 and 8. But actually, thank you.
Do you realize
Yeah.
how valuable 7 is? Like, we're still in the first 10. So any one of these channels in the first 10 will be historic.
Right.
Think about the iPhone. What are we up to? iPhone 14 now, 15.
Coming
Where
soon.
are we going with this stuff? Yeah. So when you think about, this is the original gangsta stuff. Any of the crowdsourced, the first 8 are really the OG channels.
Those
So
are
we
the
got
best.
Crowdsource the Truth 7 and 8, and then of course all the other channels. So yeah, we got some really interesting stuff for tonight's show.
What are we going to be talking about?
Well, we got the salute to Fauci with our patrons. Let's see. This is my Twitter home screen thing, and I'm up to 5,137 followers as of a couple
Wow, really
minutes ago.
growing fast.
Yeah. They got the boots on. And if you look up at the top in the banner image is the image that you and I were looking at March 13th, 2020. So that banner image is how many deaths and cases there were March 13th, 2020. And the reason that day is important, that's the day that President Trump declared a national emergency in all 50 states. And that has never been done before. We never declared a national emergency in all 50 states, even when the original John Cullen confronted the Nazis on the beach and we caught the Nazis in Chicago. They still didn't declare a national emergency in all 50 states. And there were Nazis in America running amok.
But they caught him.
Yeah, eventually. Because, the first reaction to Cullen was, how do you know they were Nazis? How do you know it was a submarine? How many submarines have you ever seen? How many Nazis have you met? So this was he was derided at first, and he wouldn't let it go. And by the time they took him seriously and said, all right, we better check this out. Tommy, call the guys down at the... These guys were already in Chicago.
And do you think
how hard it is? You know how hard it is to get from Amagansett to Chicago in 1940s?
Would they take a train or something?
Yeah, it's all trains, man.
Wouldn't everybody know they were Nazis? It's like, you sound German.
No, there were a number of English-speaking Germans and German-American Nazi sympathizers. One of these guys, we got into this whole thing before, but the point is, it's the same kind of story, and it's something that I anticipated would happen. That's why I took the nom de plume. I expected the same kind of treatment. When you introduce something where the cognitive dissonance is so strong, you get attacked, and I'll share that with the audience tonight. I'll show you some of the people who lose their mind in the face of data. So we'll take a look at that. So why don't we jump over the deck, and I'll show everybody a couple slides.
Before we do that, do you think that the 1966 movie Planet of the Apes just totally took the wind out of the name Cornelius? I haven't met anybody.
I love the name Cornelius. Cornelius Vanderbilt.
I love the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, and the Cornelius character in Planet of the Apes is, the original Cornelius.
He's one of the heroes. Yeah.
It's a great set of movies.
Certain names, though, they just go out of style and they don't come back. Cornelius Adolf.
I think Planet of the Apes is Dr. Fauci's nightmare, actually, is that the apes, start running the show, and they're like, where's this Fauci guy? Did you see
Dave
what he did to
Chappelle
our
says
cousins?
it's racist.
Yeah, it's racist to talk about monkeys. All right, so.
Well, no, Dave Chappelle says the movie is racist.
Oh, please, yeah. And monkeypox is racist. Yeah, so we have to rename monkeypox because that's racist, because we don't want anybody to think that we're calling them a monkey because they got monkeypox. So that makes sense. I'm glad we did that. It was a good use of time and energy. Let's go to the next slide, because we got videos and videos and videos on Fauci coming later. But I want to talk about some of the other stuff in the news this week and some of the things that happened.
This.
So here's another story that's kind of interesting. Moderna is suing Pfizer.
Yeah, I saw that today.
All right, so this is, somebody get in touch with David Hawkins and let's fire up the patent machine, because this is what David Hawkins is always talking about, is if you follow the patents, right? What does he say? That's how you're going to find the stories. You track
That's
the
his
patents.
method. Yes.
Yeah. So So here you go. So like a dog with a bone, he holds that base, right? He holds that point. And here we go. Moderna sues Pfizer and BioNTech. Now you know that Pfizer bought BioNTech. So every time you're BioNTech's like a division of Pfizer, like Janssen is a division of Johnson Johnson. So Moderna is saying, hey, wait a second. This is our patent. This is our patent. Now, I'm kind of curious how it took them a year and a half to figure that out.
Right. Maybe it has to
But,
do with when a lawyer called them and said, you could sue.
and I'm kind of curious, are they going to subpoena Dr. Malone? Because he's kind of the guy who invented this encapsulation concept with the hinge, right, and the lipids and all that stuff. And if he worked with Moderna and on the patent, and then, so I'm wondering if they're going to call him as an expert witness. It's going to be interesting.
There's one other important thing that we've got to discuss, John, because, it's recently come to light that people might think you may not realize you have monkeypox, but you might be ape symptomatic. That's
The
Dr. Zayas.
asymptomatic spread of monkeypox, I think, is something we should do a street segment on. We need to go down to Christopher Street and talk to let's go talk to the guys. Let's go down to the glory hole and find. Let's go to the glory hole and find out.
Stop
how
all
does
that.
Everybody really find out what's happening?
Kim Klasick posted that.
All right.
Very good and interesting, funny meme from
All right. So Fauci stepping down, Moderna suing Pfizer. And we got the search warrant, right? So all this stuff has happened in the last, 48, 72 hours, right?
Yes.
So we get the search warrant. This comes out today. And if you go to the next page in the deck, I'm reading through the search warrant, and I'm like, okay, and I get to page 10, and I'm like, okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Exactly as expected.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. 60% or more was redacted. I knew it would be. And even the big question of, what is it that you're there looking for? They're like, well, we can't tell you that.
If we told you, we'd have to kill you. So, so you're reading through it, and you're like, okay. And then, boom, the black wall. And it's just page after page of this nonsense. And then they'll give you one paragraph that's, innocuous, and then black. It's absurd. So I just figured we'd touch on that and share with the audience that this is out. You can find it on Twitter, Facebook. I'm sure everybody's sharing it all over the place. But I was a bit disappointed. I got to page 10 and there was nothing left.
What did exactly what we anticipated it would do. It's basically, another week of time wasted and news stories and headlines about how Trump is got a particle collider that he's going to destroy the world at Mar-a-Lago and nuclear whatever. Yeah. It's just nonsense.
Yeah. Again, I think there's bigger stories there, and I'm kind of curious about the guys who are picking up these documents, who are reading this stuff and go, what the hell was going on? What is that real? Tommy, look at this. Was this real? This happened?
the blacked out
no wonder he took this stuff home, right? All right, so a week or two ago, I did this interview with Brooke Jackson, and Brooke is in the midst of suing a number of companies that were participating in the Pfizer clinical trial because of things that she witnessed, and she's a clinical trial professional. So I did this interview with her. It's posted on Rumble, and it's been received really well. So people really have enjoyed watching it. The comments are incredibly positive. And she's continuing with her suit, and she's kind of putting what she saw together with our data and some of the stuff that we've talked about with the different versions and the trimethamine and all that. And I think she might be starting to realize that she may have been possibly the impetus behind the fact that there were these two different versions, an initial version and a version with trimethamine. But they didn't want her to know. They don't want to acknowledge it, right? But she's the one calling attention to it. And next thing you know, there's a new version. So this is one of the more recent ones that I've done. It's the second one down. The thumbnail doesn't have her in it because they do this automatic thumbnail generation. So Heroes of the Pandemic, Brooke Jackson shows a picture of Anderson Cooper and Sanjay Gupta and the former head of, I guess he was the head of what? No, he was the head of the FDA or HHS, or he was Fauci's
The bald
boss.
guy on the right, he was the head of the CDC. That's
CDC.
Redfield.
Okay, yeah. He's the guy before Walensky. All right, so I did that interview a week and a half ago, August 14th.
You're getting great views here on Rumble, John. 1,400.
Not bad. And then, just this past week, I was fortunate to get back together with Alex Thompson and David Scott.
Nice.
So we had so you were in the courtroom, and we had a little impromptu get-together, and we went back over the data. And what was amazing was, like when you and I do a show, we didn't compare notes ahead of time, right? So they just sent me a deck, and I prepared a deck, and I didn't know what was in their deck, and they didn't know what was in my deck.
Battle of the decks.
And then so we get together, and they show me theirs first, right? You remember the big joke from, what was it, Milton Berle, right? You remember what Milton Berle used to say, right?
Yeah.
So Milton Berle, for those of you who don't know the Milton Berle joke, Milton Berle was legendary in Hollywood. And other men used to challenge him rather frequently.
Why are we talking about this?
Well, because it comes down to, who goes first, right? So Milton Berle used to say, well, why don't you go first? And then this way I only have to take out enough to beat you. So that's the Milton Berle joke. So these guys are showing me all their data, and they UK Cullen built a front end for the yellow card system in the UK. So if you guys haven't seen, it's amazing. They built software. They built a software front end for the yellow card system in the UK is like the VAERS system in the US. So it allows you to search the yellow card system and sort the data, kind of the way you and I like to do it when we go to Worldometers.
Are they software experts? How'd they do that?
One of the guys is. Yeah, one of the guys is. And Alex explains that in the interview. So it's a really compelling interview, and this is on Rumble as well. And so these two interviews that I've done are kind of too controversial to put on YouTube, I think, even with the new rules. So right now they're exclusively on Rumble. I didn't want to chance anything with YouTube, and I know they don't like the edgy, controversial stuff. But what was fascinating here was what these guys found and what I found. We found independently. And in the world of science,
but it was the same results?
Right. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for one set of guys in a cave and another set of guys in a cave.
And
they come out with the same. Right.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. And so as these guys are showing me their data, it's all I can do to not burst out,
like that.
Interesting.
And the same applies to the jabbing VAERS records, age, circumstance.
Well, you know what? We better not show too much of this here on YouTube because otherwise it has the same effect of them just slamming us.
Yeah, but the net of it is, how we saw this distribution of deaths during the pandemic was tilted rather dramatically towards men dying over women. So they're sharing that story with me about UK and about Scotland and young men. And why are young men dying more than young women? And I'm sitting here with the data that you and I have, knowing what we know, right? So we've seen a 60-40, 62-38 split in the States at the different age groups. So as we're sharing this data with each other, it's like I said to them, in the world of astronomy, you want to have different astronomers making the same observation. All right, this chart, stop here and we'll wrap on this. This is probably the most important aspect of everything that you and I have talked about in the last 2.5 years. It's not that Beijing has 9 dead. It's not that China's got less than 25,000 dead. It's that 4,000 people a week were dying every week in the United States before COVID showed up. And that alone was historic.
But they never mentioned it.
Well, they mentioned it in January. And I document that in a couple of the videos on Johnny Hoover, but I think we're out of time. We got to jump over to the page. I'd love to tell everybody about, but
no,
this is the most important thing. So for you guys, check this out on Twitter. It's up on Twitter and on the Johnny Hoover channel. Watch Gene Genie or Are All Viruses the Same? And you'll see what was happening in January 2020. Who is the real Gene Genie? Or Are All Viruses the Same on the Johnny Hoover channel? And you'll see the footage from January 2020 where the flu was going crazy. And everyone's like, what is going on here? And next thing you know, a new puppy shows up called COVID.
Okay. Well, we're out of time right now, but we're going to continue the conversation in less than 4 minutes on subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen, patreon.com/IamJohnCullen, and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Somebody's complaining about the way that we want to show this, and guess what that does? That gets you blocked. Because anybody who's advising us to do something that in our judgment causes us to believe it endangers the YouTube channel needs to start their own YouTube channel and go put material on there. People who support this show don't tell us what to do. They become sponsors on subscribestar.com and patreon.com/IamJohnCullen or subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for that comment that got you blocked.